about 45 minutes to an hour. Sitting here talking movies is going to be a lot of fun. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the first mailbag question today. And the first mailbag question comes to us from Josh Bettinelli, who writes, just wondering on your thoughts about Simon Pegg's Star Wars prequel rant today. Yes, you're allowed an opinion, but I find it quite disrespectful that Lucasfilm or Disney will allow this guy to have any involvement with the franchise, considering he continues to attack George Lucas. He's had too many strikes. Time to stand up for George Lucas, who gave us something we cherish so much, especially when the guy spreading so much hate is one of the Star Trek Into Darkness crew, a film that is on par with Attack of the Clones. Anyways, thanks and keep up the great work. Well, for those of you who don't know what Josh is talking about, Simon Pegg was being, I believe it was the New York Post yesterday, Simon Pegg was interviewed, and basically he has just done what he has always done. Professed his undying love for Star Wars, yet his undying loathing and hatred of the prequels. To the point that he said, it's as if George Lucas was killing his own children. That's what he said. I mean, obviously hyperbole. It's an analogy, so let him go on that. But I know, and ever since, there have been a lot of tweets. There's even been one of these, what's that website you use to create petitions? Like
Change.org.
Yeah. Somebody created a Change.org thing, basically calling for Simon Pegg to be banned from anything Star Wars related. Calling on Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Disney to ban Simon Pegg from anything Star Wars related. So anyway, Schnepp, you heard Simon Pegg's comments. Your reaction to all of this?
It's a bit. I mean, everyone's reactions to his mini rant is a bit extreme. Creating a Change.org. Look, I just sat through The Phantom Menace yesterday and was bored out of my skull. It's a bad film. That doesn't mean I'm anti-George Lucas. I've professed that I think George Lucas is the whole reason our technology is where we're at right now. Nonlinear digital editing, sound systems, everything that George Lucas put so much of his own money that he made from Star Wars back into the creative development of everything that we cherish. We'll always own that. And on top of that, he made American Graffiti, made THX 138. He's done a lot of cool things. He produced Raiders of the Lost Ark. Give me a break. When people rip on the Phantom Menace, you got to just forget about all the stuff that George Lucas did. Just look at Phantom Menace as a movie, and it's horrible. It's garbage. It's badly written. It's horribly directed. He had an incredible crew of special effects masters working with him.
Best in the world.
Best in the world. Special effects at that time in 1999. Star Wars, amazing designers. Darth Maul looked cool. Lucas was just going through some dry spell or whatever. He just could not get the energy and the magic that he had when he created the original Star Wars and let a bunch of other people take it and write it with him and produce Gary Kurtz, all these different people. That's how the original trilogy was made. So I, as one of these people who saw the original trilogy and then saw the prequels later and was incredibly disappointed with those original prequels, and completely 100% behind Simon Pegg's rants, and they're true, and if you don't like them, suck it.
I just think here's the thing, I understand that there are people out there who like the prequels, but here's the thing, I absolutely, this notion, when people saying, Simon Pegg continues to disrespect the fans, with all the love of my heart, shut up. Just shut up. He has never disrespected the fans. Look, I am a die-hard, to the core, I bleed blue and white Toronto Maple Leaf fan, okay? Guess what? They suck. And they've sucked my whole life. Okay, well, there's a couple of years there when they had, Wendell Clark and then Gilmore and that whole thing going, and they were all right for a couple of years. But for the most part, my entire life, they've sucked. I love the Toronto Maple Leafs, though. Love them. And guess what? If somebody says to me, like Josh McCouga, who's a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, I also am a big fan of Pittsburgh Penguins, but he says to me, yo, Campy, Toronto Maple Leafs suck. What can I do? I say, well, I love them anyway. They suck, but I love them anyway. He's not disrespecting me. We're talking about hockey, for heaven's sakes. And guess what? I've said this before. I will say it again. I worship at the altar of George Lucas. That nobody has done more for the film industry in the last 50 years than what he has done for the film industry. But guess what? My favorite hockey player in the world, your favorite baseball player, your favorite basketball player, whatever, can be your favorite in the world, and if they go out and suck one game, you say they sucked that game. That is not disrespecting them. That's you looking at the art or the sport or whatever, saying, hey, that outing was not so good. I worship at the altar of George Lucas. But that doesn't mean I put a bag over my head, stick my head in the sand, and just go, everything he does is beautiful. No. I look at the prequels, you may look at them and like them, I look at them and I think they're horrible. That does not mean I am disrespecting George Lucas. That doesn't mean I'm disrespecting other guys. Look, I've called Man of Steel, I think Man of Steel is a borderline masterpiece. I think that movie is brilliant, and I like it more and more every time I see it. Lots of people don't like it, and I have close friends of mine who don't like it and say, dude, that movie was rough, that movie just sucked. I go, well, I think you're crazy, but I loved it. I don't go, you are disrespecting me! How dare you disrespect Zack Snyder like that? You didn't like the movie, you hated the movie, you thought it was trash. That's cool, I loved it, and we can have a dialogue about it, and that's all fun and cool. This notion of this whiny band of crybabies who are going out and trying to get Simon Pegg. Now, granted, look, let me call space spade here. I don't like the prequels. Simon Pegg doesn't like the prequels, so it'll look on the surface like we're on the same thing. But I don't care if Simon Pegg was going out and trash talking Man of Steel. I'd be saying the same thing. Get over it. This dude's love for Star Wars is more than yours. He adores this franchise, and his love for it is part of the reason he's so angry at the prequels. That's the basis of it. This crybaby mentality of, you don't like the same thing I like, ban him, is pathetic. It's pathetic. Get over it. Anyway, Christian.
Here's the difference, though. You don't play for the Maple Leafs.
I don't play for the Maple Leafs, no.
No, Simon Pegg's in Star Wars. Now, I love Simon Pegg. I share his opinions on a lot of the movies and for most of what he said. But he's putting his best friend in a very odd position, because J.J. Abrams will most likely, I say, feels the same way about the prequels. You will never hear J.J. Abrams say those words.
No, you will not.
Simon Pegg has to be careful when he is part of this franchise now. He can't go shooting off about George Lucas and saying, because we know that he doesn't. If he had never said it before, and this is the first time he's saying it, okay, he just said his opinions.
Oh, man, see, I'm the opposite of that. I think if he has never said it before,
and then
I think you keep your mouth shut. If you're already on...
I know. He's not changing his opinions, and that's where he's been. No, I get it. But what I mean though is the fact that he's part. The thing is, at this point, he is part. You can say things in a way that he wasn't a fan of the prequels, and that things should have been done differently, as opposed to right now taking shots at George Lucas before he sold Disney. Everyone was like, yeah, get him, special edition. Why is that woman singing in Jeddah? Get her out of there. But that's not the case anymore. A lot of people, myself included, are like, well, look, George did a lot of bad things. He did the right thing. He sold it off. Other people are making them now. It's good. It's like you gotta let it go. Like I understand that. I agree with Chef. The movie Phantom Menace, we watched it last night. It was tough to watch. Those movies are hard to watch. People do love them too.
We tried to stay pretty positive though during that.
We did,
tried to stay as positive as we could.
And I was reading his comments, and I agree with everything he was saying in regards to what he was trying to say as far as what happened to the tone of the movie and how they're not the same. And to say he's not a fan is ridiculous. And to try to get him out of the movie is insane. And the fact that you said Star Trek 2 is worse than Clones, insane.
Yeah, that's just nuts.
But that being said, you also have to realize that you're putting Lucasfilm in a weird position. You're putting Disney in a weird position. You're putting your friend J.J. Abrams in a weird position here by attacking George Lucas again, because it's going to get out there. He's a beloved Star Wars fan. Right. He is. He's a loved Star Wars fan. By doing it, it's just a weird position to put people in.
See, I think the thing is, like I was mentioning before, I think I've got a little bit of an opposite view of this. I think if he like J.J. Abrams had never been public about his distaste for the prequels, then my position completely changes. Then I'm like, dude, shut up. Simon, shut up.
I agree. I know what you're saying. I agree with that.
At this point, I mean, this is the same guy who said he could swallow cyanide if he got a chance to hang out with George Lucas for the day because his life would be complete. Remember, this is the same guy that everybody's saying you're disrespecting George Lucas. I mean, you got to separate from him calling out the things that he thought was crap and not. But he's been so vocal and adamant about his hatred for the prequels.
But not since he was in the movie.
No, not since he's been in the movie. That at this point, though, you can't become disingenuous and sugarcoat it, or else it almost becomes a bigger story. I don't
But you
know.
don't think there was a better way for him to say it? Like, look, I wasn't a fan. He could have said something along the lines of, look, I wasn't a fan of the prequels. I thought the writing and the tone wasn't the same. I think we're doing it a lot different now. I think JJ has a better hold of it what it was. I think you could have said it that way as opposed to going, George Lucas, the man who gave us this, is horrible. He's killing his kids. That's hard to do when you're in the movie.
He never said he's horrible. But he just, it's like he's
You know what I mean?
He said it's almost like advanced. I totally agree with you. Could he have said it differently?
Right, that's all I'm saying.
I agree. But over an issue of could he have said it differently to starting a change.org campaign, have him banned
I'm with you. That's so. How do you not want Simon
Could
Pegg?
he have said it differently?
Right,
Absolutely.
I want him in Star Wars. It's Simon Pegg. He's an ultimate fan, and you know that he's going to help you. He probably helped JJ. JJ said as much. He was there to throw things back and forth. You don't want Simon Pegg off of Star Wars, trust me.
No, you do.
Simon Pegg has been an advocate of not the Phantom Menace since like the Spaced, his British series.
Oh yeah, where he really went on about it.
Railing on it. Yeah.
Paul also, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like that's just how he feels about it. And sometimes the fan community, that's the it's not trolls. It's just this fervent like you're either in or you're out.
Sweaties.
You can't have. No, I don't. Sweaties are not like just like all in, all out. I'm just like.
Sometimes.
So they can be, but I'm just saying, like, when it gets to this point where it's like, you know, you can't disrespect this person, it's like, it becomes almost like a religious fervor. Like, look, he's human, he's made a bunch of stinky films, he's also made an incredible series of films that have changed cinematic history and the way we see films, help create the blockbuster, the event film. There's all these things, and so when you talk down about George Lucas's prequels, I think that is a deserved comment. Whether you like him or you don't like him, I think it's an argument that's worth having.
I don't disagree that you can't talk bad about the prequels. I just, like I said, I think that there's a way that you could say it, especially when you're in the film, that can come off differently than the way that he said it. And I think that he also said it, it's Simon Pegg. He probably was also saying it, from when you read it in print to how he said it, it probably would be humorous listening to the way that he said it, because it's Simon Pegg, he's hysterical. But when you read it, and if you're someone who's just like, leave George Lucas alone! You're going to get pissed. And I understand. I really do get both sides of it. I just think that it could have been said differently. I agree with you, though. I think this is a guy who's been very vocal about his opinions on it. He shouldn't have changed that stance. But because he's in the movie, and because he could have just said it a little differently.
And believe me,
I agree.
He knows how much weight is on him because he wrote Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not only Scotty, but
Right.
he's the writer of Star Trek Beyond. So, you know, he's a fan, and I think him saying that stuff, I'm glad he said it.
And just to reiterate what Christian was saying, to equate Star Trek Into Darkness with Attack of the Clones. All films subjective, subjective, but from where I'm sitting, that's a little bit insane.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not going to try to have you banned from any Star Trek conventions just because you think that.
You
Anyway.
have change.org up right now. What are you talking about?
I've already signed it. Get this guy banned. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Taylor Houston, who writes, "Hey guys, love the show so much." Well, thank you so much. Thanks for all that you do. I have a question involving the movie Serenity. With Joss Whedon having become more popular than ever due to his work on the Avengers movies, do you think that Serenity came out at the wrong time? A part of me feels that most of the reason why Serenity failed at the box office is